Um, Georgette, did you hear what we're gonna do?
No, what?
Girl, Michelle is gonna host a chat on The Handmaid's Tale.
Ooh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
I'm
was exciting.
I'm getting all the trailers together to put on audio because I'm telling you, people are not getting how important it that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So who are we
yeah.
waiting for?
I don't know that we're actually waiting for anyone. Kim may show,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I haven't heard from her today.
Mhm.
And Nicole, I'm not really necessarily expecting Nicole. She's had a lot going on lately.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so she's supposed to facilitate on June 22nd, Nicole. So we
Mhm.
may not see her until then.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm ready. Gio, you ready?
Sure, sure, we can do it. I'm getting myself
Ah,
together here.
I'm just gonna go over here and find the notes on Google.
okay.
Oh,
Michelle, when you coming down here?
You just want me to get trapped down there with you?
wait, you got your? Did you get your second what you call it?
What second?
What?
Your second vaccination?
Oh, vaccine?
Uh
I
huh.
get mine. I get mine tomorrow.
Okay. So see, you'll be
Yeah.
good to go, Michelle. They can't hold you.
That's right.
You know what? I'm about to pass out here. We got 80,
I
90 something
heard.
degrees going on here.
Yeah, it was
Wow,
90 something in New Hampshire yesterday, 91.
that's
Yeah.
incredible.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not a heat kind of girl. I don't know what I'm going to do if I live, for the worst of global warming because
Listen, you're from New Jersey. You can figure it out.
You're gonna invent some kind of ice pack vest contraption.
I know. Because I've been thinking about that all day because my neighbors across the street, they're sighting a huge iguana in their tree. And if it crosses the street, I'm going to get a snow machine or something, one of those ice machine, like a gun that freezes shit.
you don't want no company, do you?
Not animal, not mineral, not vegetable.
Oh man. When is the cool season down there?
There is no cool season here. They were calling it winter, and I'm going, like 67 degrees, and people are walking around with a sweater on. Aha.
Yes.
Um, I haven't worn, and I'm a jacket person. I buy a light jacket for almost everything, and I haven't worn a jacket since I lived here.
Wow.
And I had just
Wow.
gone into my little short leather jacket thing.
Okay.
I
Okay.
I I bought this bright yellow suede jacket, with the zippers and all that stuff.
Okay.
And damn, I had one season to wear it. Just one.
My brother has sent me pictures at Christmas time outdoor in his outdoor swimming pool.
Hmm. I would have gone swimming on Christmas. But
Yeah.
I opted to have gardening rather than a pool because I just felt like I wouldn't use a pool as much as I would enjoy a courtyard in the front because I have a patio
Yeah.
on the back. and that's where all the big trees are in the golf course.
Uh-huh.
But I have a courtyard in my front entrance, and I really enjoy sitting out there having wine at night and listening to the news and listening to podcasts and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, otherwise, I mean, every now and then I think about um, I would like to go swimming, and I had a neighbor next door um, who was from New Hampshire, and she moved back to New Hampshire. And every evening she was, you know, it was the call, come over and let's have a swim, let's have some wine. But
Mm.
Yeah, well, you have to hook up with my brother Mark. He's down there in Vero Beach.
oh, that's not far from me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
in the same county, I think. No, Vero might be in another county, but
Okay.
it's not far. As a matter of fact, it is in the area where during Jim Crow, the Black Beach was.
Oh,
Everybody from Delray Boca had to drive all the way to Jupiter to go to the beach.
Man.
Moving Africans through Palm Beach County.
Man.
Gio, I'm ready when you are.
Okay. All right. Welcome everyone to session 15 of the Global Black Feminist Reading Circle. This is meeting 7 of 9, where tonight we will be discussing Manhunters by Kalamu Salaam and Aftermath, an excerpt by LeVar Burton. So, and next week, our facilitator will be, oh, you have
Yeah.
Kim. Yeah, Kim. Okay, she'll be doing Fire on the Mountain by Terry Bisson and Homing Instinct by Danny McLean. And so, since it's just the three of us here,
Okay.
let us introduce ourselves.
I'm
And
Janice P. Graham, and
okay.
here's my book. And I have to say that Kalaya,
Salaam.
help me here, Jesus. Ka,
Salam.
wait. As well as I know this man, Kalamu
Kalamu.
Salam,
Okay.
I have known for maybe 3 decades now.
Oh, wow.
I've
Wow.
interviewed him a number of times. I have read his poetry. So, and I follow him and he follows me on Facebook.
Oh, great. You're going to give us a lot of insight into this story.
Yeah.
Okay.
And thank
I'm
you for the
surprised
disclosure.
he's been a published writer for so long. I'm surprised he's in the sophomore book, but go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, BJ. And Michelle.
Hi, I'm Michelle Odom. I am in Brooklyn, New York, and here's my book.
All right. Thank you. And tonight I'm your facilitator, Georgette Moses, joining you all from Columbia, South Carolina, ready to delve into these two exciting stories. A part of an adventurous book that we are reading this session.
Uh,
Okay, Octavia's Brood, science fiction stories from social justice movements. And so let's dive right into the summary here, which is accompanied by some very beautiful artwork and graphics. Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Okay. In Manhunters, Kalamu Salam introduces us to Mauve, a warrior attempting to thrive in a society governed largely by women. Their goal is to keep humanity alive, but even in this post-dystopian setting, it's complicated. These warrior women, leaders and less valued men, practice community accountability and choose restorative solutions over violence. The world of Mauve's childhood was also complicated, only in a much darker, stringent way. It demanded her mother's life for her freedom. LeVar Burton's Aftermath is an excerpt from his novel of the same name, an apocalyptic cornucopia of racial conflict, the collapse of the United States, a second civil war, and a presidential assassination occur between 2015 and 2018. Dr. Renee Reynolds, a brilliant neurologist, creates a cure for Parkinson's disease that also eliminates chronic pain, increases memory, and completely regresses all cancer cells within the body. Only one problem: it was affordable for everyone, which really upset the inventor of the more expensive skin fusion treatment. The skin came from African Americans and other dark skinned ethnic groups. Unfortunately, Dr. Reynolds soon found herself in a position to add to the stockpile personally. Okay. Now, Michelle, I just have to say, I loved your summaries, which people can find on the Facebook page, But
Yeah,
I just I had some feelings that kind of expressed themselves in the summary.
yeah, no, that's fine. I usually write a little summary a few days ahead so that I can add it to all of the marketing stuff. But
Okay.
I really want you to write write it the way you see it.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, that's how I
because I'm
was. No, no, that's fine. And it the first story, there's a lot going on, right? And so I didn't want to write a book report,
yeah, and
which
and
was
you know
what it
your
might have
first
turned into.
question is about the colors, and that's a part of, to me, a lot that was going on. I mean, I think I get the point that he wanted to have a story looking at some of the issues that come up in a commune type environment among Black people. So I appreciated the Kwanzaa names and uh, all of that, but it got to be too much for me in a short story.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, yeah.
too
He
many
has a
characters.
book. He has a book of short stories as well.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Okay.
his work can be a little over uh, absorbent, as though if you know his hey Kim, if you
Everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Kim.
if you
Kim.
know his history, um, he, he struggled for a very long time as a Black poet. Um, he came late into the Afrocentric literature community. And I think he was homeless at one time, if I recall properly, Um, and you know how we are. We don't like to buy books. And I think that his first publication was a big failure in terms of the books. But he has always had, and I wasn't surprised that he would use the 7 days of Kwanzaa
Mhm.
as names, and I too felt it was a bit much. Does everybody have to have a name, like, and then the cobalt and the turquoise, and you know it's almost like he was doing too much painting.
Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. Yeah, kind of. You expressed that greatly and very empathetically about his situation. Yes, yes, he was doing too much.
I have two of his books of poetry, and and I've had them for years, and I can't say that I've read either one of them totally. You know how you glance through a book of poetry and you find something that catches you, and then the next one doesn't catch you, and you keep trying to find something like the first one that caught you. Like husbands or something.
Okay, BJ, thank you. And Kim has joined us. So, Kim, if you would please introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. I am Kim Brandon. I'm here in New York and just happy to be here. Sorry for being late. It's just some technical stuff with this computer. So I'm here and I'm ready. Thank you.
Yay! It's okay,
Yay.
Kim. We're glad you joined us.
All right. And you know you're up next week, right?
Okay. And so just on the first question, if you have the notes. And so, but while you're looking for the notes, well, Kim, what was your impression of this first story, Manhunters? What was your general impression?
I enjoyed this story. I also got tied up with all of the Kwanzaa names. That didn't work for me. Um, I just enjoyed all the layers in the story, and I understand feeling like some of it's too much, but I just wanted to know what the outcome, what the elders was doing. The suspense of it just kept me riveted the entire story, and then I also liked the way it ended. That was just so unexpected. So I don't know. I just watched as I was reading the story. I remember just feeling centered and feeling good. So it kind of worked for me.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me ask a question to the question, and it really is about Afro-futurism stuff. I think that sometimes, and I particularly have found it in the stories in this collection, that we think it has to be weird. And it really doesn't have to be weird. If writers are willing to go back, and I think we saw some of that in the writing of Kalamu, that there's enough West African religion, spiritual stuff, post-slavery and post-slavery religious and mystical stuff, that we don't have to make it up. Why are these people making it up? I mean, it's one thing to go, Kim, I know that this is your profession and I should shut up, but it's one thing to go expand, and it's another thing to kind of like not imagine, because I don't think I'm talking about imagination. I'm talking about making it up. And that's not imagination. Trying to make it weird. I don't think science fiction is weird at all. It's just the expansion of the imagination. And that is what Octavia Butler is so good with. She takes what we already have. And I know I said this last week. She takes what we already have, what we already know, what we've already discovered about ourselves, and she places it in the imagination. So I think he did it. There were parts of this, I agree with Kim. There were parts of this story that I absolutely loved. Some of the dialogue, particularly around Mauve. I was calling it Mauve because they all trying to do something exotic. um, because and his mother, her mother, whatever.
Her mother, yeah.
Because at
Well,
first I
I
wasn't.
like
Huh?
I like the overall story, but when it got to the part where Turquoise, the woman whose sister was killed, and she, went into that really, really negative thing about men. Why do all men ruin our lives? And all of that. I was like, what? I read it and I'm like, well, this is a bit over the top.
It didn't fit. It didn't fit.
Right. And then afterwards, when I saw his picture, I said, why is a man writing a book with so much negativity toward men coming out of women's mouths? That made me uncomfortable.
And just today on Facebook, one of my friends on Facebook had posted a picture of a pregnant Black woman, and she was half naked taking a picture, and she said something about where all the stepdad is or whatever. And T. Hassan Johnson, who I know, and Dr. Vanelia Randall got into a huge tussle. And Dr. V had to tell some guy that I don't know, Grave something, Ian Grave or something, to don't link her name to this bullshit. And it was because all the men had gone in and saying, see, this is how women think we are disposable. There's a whole there's a whole new subculture of Black men who are going through this thing about believing that Black women are their enemies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah. I agree with you, but Kalamu, what? It's my mouth. It's my brain. Kalamu is considers himself to a certain degree as a feminist male.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. And that's all I'm saying about that.
Okay. Well, I mean,
but in the 80s, there were a lot of Black intellectuals and writers, men, David Icard is one of them. Mark Anthony Neal is another one of them. I mean, I did a whole 5 days of shows on the Black male feminists.
Mm-hmm.
So, Kalamu ya Salaam. But I kind of agree with you. It's like he didn't get it, and I know we're not on that question, but Georgette, tell me shut up when I'm.
Oh, go ahead, BJ. It's all relevant.
When Mauve talked about forgiveness, and the elders decided that he should accept forgiveness when his position had been, I did nothing wrong. I did what I was required to do. I was told to do. I don't need to be forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
And then the order was for him, her,
I thought, yeah, I think it's the woman.
yeah, she was, for her to accept Turquoise's submission of forgiveness, gift of forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
I when they made that turn, I went, this is bullshit. This is bullshit. My bullshit meter just went all over the place.
Well, you know, BJ, you bring up a very important point. And while we're trying to understand this character of Mauve, right? So, Salaam is a feminist, identifies himself as a feminist male. And so this character is a warrior woman. So she is the complete opposite of what we would normally, I guess, in this little society he's created, to characterize a feminine member to be, right? So she's acting with a particular in a particular way that a man who's a warrior would act. I did my job. I don't need, you know, any soft forgiveness dances and what have you. And why are you, you know, why are you picking on me? You know, it happened, you know. But still in the same vein, she wants to, you know, have a baby. So she's got a conflict going on within herself about who she's supposed to be on the outside, operating within this, you know, society, and then who and you know how she feels on the inside, while she's still reflecting on the words of her mother, you know, in the past, about that having a baby, you know, was a selfish act for her. So how important is life, and what is the value you place on it? What are you willing to do? So, and Marv is just, you know, she's just committed, you know, an act of removing life from the planet, right? She just killed Indigo. So over a man who's not, who's less valued in the society, and I assume because they cause a bunch of trouble.
Yeah.
It brings up, I think, Georgette, your commentary brings up the idea of how conflicted she was about what she learned about her mother's death, and uh, I think that she wasn't conflicted. It's very clear the way he writes it that she wasn't conflicted about being a warrior, but she was conflicted about being a woman, the reproductive part of her. Um, you know, but as always, and that is, I warn everybody when I read something, I'm rewriting it all the time, and I would have written it in a different way. And since I'm not a writer and I don't write shit, so I shut up.
But even that scene between Mauve and her mother was also very negative about men. All the men in the city are sterile, and
Yeah, she fucked everybody. She just wanted a baby.
yeah,
Which I laughed at that.
Can we just like pause on that right there? I went all over with
so I mean,
everybody.
if he was just trying to be provocative, okay.
He said, I was getting it in. I was getting it in.
Yes.
Absolutely. Um, I, I'm wondering. It almost reads as though he was running out of time. There are a lot of holes in this story, and I think he's spent too much. Kim, the writers do the setup or something like in the movie, you know, the setup, um, where you're trying to get people to understand where, who, and what, and then you move on. I just felt like his setup was too long. Um, that the rumination about what, first of all, it was a culture that wasn't very punitive in the first place. You find that out. So why all this rumination? Like they weren't going to kill her or anything.
Right.
What in the hell was she worried about? It was like,
Yeah.
And then he told the story about she was too smart and she passed the test or had the high score, but it didn't connect to, because at that point I was still thinking she was male. So I was trying to figure out, well, what kind of what was she? Is it a caste system, and she's part of the caste where they're not supposed to be smart? But if I had clearly known she was female, I would have thought, oh, the women weren't supposed to be as smart as the men. I didn't know what was going on.
Well, that's an interesting question, and you're right. I have to agree that I felt similarly because here was uh, some ideas, a group of ideas dropped right in the story that didn't lead anywhere else. So you have a description. So what was he using it for? A description of, a society where socially and governmentally and technologically it was very oppressive, but not really, explaining much more about it so we could make the connections to what happened between, how she got from that point, right? How many years or whatever transpired before she became a part of this new little small society. Because I have to tell you, Michelle, when I read your summary, I'm like, it was a secluded society. Yes, yes, yes. But I got none of that by reading it. I'm like, what did I miss? I'm like, and he has some very beautiful, 1 and 2 line concepts in this story that could have been expounded upon and weaved in and out. So maybe this was part of a much larger piece, and because they had size
How did
constrictions.
she get there? Was
Yeah.
my question. Well, wait a minute. She was supposed to die, run away, die. How did she find them? Did the mother
We
get
don't know.
killed? I mean, and that's what I mean by, was he rushing the story because he had a deadline or something and shit was missing all over the place? So,
Okay.
I guess for me, I agree with you that when we're giving this detailed layout of the mountain, and it just felt like unless we're going to see the chase, unless we're going to see what happened, then I don't need paragraphs of where the longhouse is versus the headquarters versus this. I thought we were about to go on this chase. I was like, okay, so I got to hold on to this piece, or I got to hold on to that piece because I want to understand when they get to the mountain. Now remember why he's telling me all of this. And then when you get to the point that the story is about forgiveness, it was just like, huh? But I think the other thing is that it reminded me of poetry. It just felt like I'm telling y'all what I'm telling you, take it or leave it.
he's a poet.
Yeah, so it just felt like I'm a poet.
Yeah,
This
Kim.
is my poet story. I'm gonna drop you here. I'm gonna pick you back up here, and that's all I need to do. But I just felt like no, you need to do a little bit more. Just make it. I just wish it was 2 stories. Like all of that stuff in the beginning, that the setup just was just too labored for me. And then when we finally get to the hearing, and now all of a sudden it's like Indigo, and you're getting to know what happened. That was the real story for me. I wanted to see Mauve struggling with Indigo. I think I wanted to see that, and I wanted to see what Georgette was talking about. How did you discover, the Kwanzaa people? you know?
Yeah.
You would you call them the Kwanzaa?
Hey, sounds like a
He'll
good
just
name to
bust
me.
He'll just bust it out with the Kwanzaa people.
Good one.
Yeah.
But I thought maybe once you get to be an elder, you get to take one of those Kwanzaa principles as your name. So I was just
But
wondering,
note the sex of all of the elders.
huh?
Most of the elders were male.
Were they? I thought they were female and there was only one man. Oh, see, I'm totally
I
lost.
know
Imani was
Because I
male.
read this.
Imani was male.
Imani was male.
Right, Imani was male. And
Kumba was female. Nia was female. But I think Kujijakalia and oh God, I can't get over Kim and the Kwanzaa people. Oh Lord. I think there were more male than female. But he made it very clear that all the warriors were female.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have to go back and check, but that was my impression. That most of the elders were female.
Well,
I
the
mean,
first two were definitely female, weren't they? The
Mhm. The
Ultra
leader,
and
the,
another one.
the top leader.
yeah.
Mhm.
yes.
But
what
I
was
think
with all this dancing?
Ujama was male.
I thought Ijama was female.
I got that impression too, but you know, maybe it was a sexually fluid society. Even though, okay.
Yeah.
It may be me. It may be me. Because I was thinking it was all out of balance.
I think it's the
Yeah.
kind of story that you got to read a couple of times,
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot going on in the story.
There is.
There's a
Yeah.
lot going on here with the dancing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It was just like,
Mm-hmm.
well, come dance
Now
with us.
that's interesting
Yeah.
how they use dance. That I thought that was interesting. How he used dance as a way of relationships, building relationships, building character, building strength, building whatever. At some points,
I loved how beautiful the elders were. They were these strong, beautiful people. I think Amani was the only one that was a little bit, I guess, stubborn. I don't think that was the word. But I
mhm,
just love that there was leadership. Even
mhm,
I didn't know what was going on in the story, but I loved the idea of structure and leadership for survival.
mhm. And you never got the impression that either of the elders felt that authority and control was their role.
Yeah, right.
But I couldn't figure
But
out how Mav got into this situation that the where he describes when she killed Indigo and the who else did he kill? She killed.
I think that was it. It was
No,
just
she
like,
said she killed somebody with
really?
indigo. Hmm.
Did I miss
Said,
that?
I'm a
Yeah.
yeah, I
killer.
mean, I think she was in trouble because she took off her TalkChip
Mhm.
so that they
Mm.
couldn't communicate with her when she was outside the bounds of the complex
Yeah.
while she was killing Indigo.
Say that again,
Um,
Michelle. She took off what now?
Her talk shit.
her TalkChip, which I guess is like a
Oh,
walkie-talkie or something. And so they couldn't communicate with her while she was chasing Indigo off campus, you know.
Mhm.
But no, the elders didn't seem very authoritative. but there was this kind of I can't call it a theme because he just kind of throws stuff out there and he's off to the next subject. But
Yeah.
This idea that Indigo had to choose between wanting to protect the people versus her own personal happiness. And she chose her own personal happiness.
And it was a problem.
And that was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know,
So
I mean, I see overall.
That kind of got confusing for me, like, because it was Indigo having to get killed because she wanted to be pregnant and be with a man. But Mauve made it very clear she wanted to be pregnant. And nobody seemed to have a problem with that, except for it had to be a decision made in order to give her approval to do that. Then my question was, well, how come Indigo didn't do that?
Right. Right.
So
yeah.
It's almost like he didn't read his own story. Kim, do you publish poetry and you don't read it before you send it to us?
You know what happens is like you have a blind spot. Like there's stuff that's in your head that's not on the page. Like when you read it, you actually read all the nuances that are in your head, but you never actually wrote that for the reader. So it's like you got to let stuff get cold and have other people read it and say to you, you never told us how she found the Kwanzaa people. All of a sudden, last we checked, her mother was about to die. You didn't tell us about that. And so there's a lot going on here. And after a while, it was just like
a child going to jail. And I'm trying to figure out if because she went to jail, is that why the mother's gonna die and they have to go to work? I mean, what was happening before she went to jail?
And I wanted them to prove that she didn't cheat. I mean, that was huge that she
Yes, Kim.
Yeah.
That was huge that her whole life was changed. Her mother's gonna die because she was accused of something that there was no recourse.
Yeah.
And she said 2 things that I didn't do. And when she was dealing with the issue of killing Indigo, she said, here I am, 2 things that I didn't do.
But for the right man, I'm sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I was just gonna say, it struck me as a good Kwanzaa story. You know how on the day of the big feast and everybody's sitting around reading poetry and sharing songs and playing music and stuff, and somebody wants to tell an extemporaneous story. I can see this as a discussion starter.
Okay.
Let me tell you a story about the Kwanzaa people.
And his drums playing in the background,
Yes.
Indigo, bop, bop, bop.
Y'all so wild.
That's Kim.
Oh my goodness.
But there are so much root for so many stories inside this story.
Yes. And
like I want to go home with that. Which one I want to go home with? Not Imani, the other one, the other Kwanzaa lady.
Imani was the end.
I don't want to go home with Turquoise because I just felt Turquoise didn't know what she wanted. She really didn't know what she wanted. She just was all over the place. But it was a Kwanzaa people, a Kwanzaa person I wanted to go home with. I forgot which one it was. It was either
Chakalia.
Kujichaka. It was either Kujichakalia or Nia. One of them. I just wanted to go home and have a beer.
Yeah. You had to calling up your baby and say, "Oh, Coochie Chakalia, you coming?"
Coochie.
Oh my goodness.
But I wasn't attracted to the main leader, whatever her name was. The first one that we met.
Umoja.
Yeah,
Umoja.
Umoja. Okay, I wasn't attracted to her as much as I was whoever.
What do you mean attracted? Wait, what is this word? Attracted.
I attracted to like go home with them. Kim,
and have deep conversations, Kim.
and have a beer.
And a beer.
Comematch.com. Wait a minute.
It's just like the other night I watched The Chai. I don't know if you all watched that.
Oh,
I don't watch The Chai. But anyway, there was a conversation that went on between a man who is gay, but is not openly gay, and he's a thug and a gangster. He's a criminal. And a man who was beating his wife. And in that conversation, I wanted to interview the guy where he had made the intervention, because of some of the, it was the most powerful dialogue I've heard on TV in a long time, where this black man was talking to this black man, and the black man that was beating his wife was saying to him, "Nigga, who are you? I don't know you. Get your ass out of my face." You know, blah, blah, blah. And this guy was breaking it down to him. He says, "Yes, you do. You know me. You know me." You know, and it went on and went on. You have to watch it. But anyway, I wanted to interview the guy.
Oh, I see.
And I often do that in when I read, you know, like Secret Letters to Margaret Atwood. So when I read this book, it was almost like with the mother. It was almost like that scene with the mother. The mother has to come and they buzz her in and da 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 da. And I'm thinking about apartheid South Africa. Is that what's happening here in a futuristic apartheid South Africa? But
he never clarified.
Yeah, he didn't. And often writers have genius and they muck it up because of what Kim said, the blind side. It's all in their head. And I know, I mean, if anybody goes back into the government for 20 some years, or in my corporate, when I write memorandums, when I write reports, summaries, or anything, I have more footnotes than I actually have in the body of the document, so that people understand what I'm thinking, where I'm coming from, because in the documents have to be fact. It can't just be BJP Graham running off at the head. But I think it really becomes important. And what does he do with this story for going forward when somebody picks up this book 30 years from now? You know, I was thinking.
Well, he don't look like he's gonna be around to worry about it.
No. He's. I think he's my age.
Yeah.
He might be younger because he looks like he's my age.
I think he was
What I
47. I think they said
What
he
I
was
don't
born in
understand
47.
though is
Really, 47? Kalamu is just, he looked like he was 55 back in the 80s.
Wait, let me double check.
I thought he was older than me back in the 80s.
Yeah, he was born March 47 in Louisiana.
47. Yeah, he is older than me. I ain't telling y'all how old I am. Y'all didn't
but
help
yeah,
fertilize my lawn today.
I
don't have to worry
understand what
about
you're
it.
saying. It's not that you want to take them home. You want to interview them.
No, the other person I wanted to take home, I wanted to go home with. The man on the child I wanted to interview. He had just beat his wife. But I don't want to go home with him.
Okay, moving right along.
You have to
Michelle.
know the
Yes, I'm the same.
Yes, BJ. Yes, Gia.
Go ahead.
Miss
Oh, go
Karen.
ahead.
Karen didn't want to come along with this book. Where's Benita?
Karen is teaching a class on Tuesday night.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And Benita is not in this group right now. She's in my Friday group.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Because when Kim broke out with the Quans people, Bonita was right there for it.
So you want to talk about the next one, Gio?
I just wanted to add before we do that. Turquoise. I found that to be such bizarre punishment that because I didn't embrace and forgive you, I now need to live with you. We need to be bunkmates
To learn to live together.
This guy had to be high writing this story. Now I have to change my sexual orientation because I didn't forgive somebody.
You bring up a good point there, because she gives Mauve is giving off all of these masculine vibes, right? But she is also attracted to Cobalt. Remember? She said, I want to get with him. and now at the end, she's put into, this space with Turquoise. What are they supposed to do? Beat the drum and dance around.
Turquoise shows up with her backpack
and her drum.
Yeah, drum.
Yeah. Yes.
What is that? I just needed a little bit more of what that was. I'm so curious.
But see, that goes back to the point that I was trying to make earlier, and I know sometimes I don't make any sense at all, but it goes to the point that sci-fi writers have to. Octavia Butler. Okay.
Well, he is not.
I understand, but
okay.
Octavia Butler was the first. I mean, Octavia Butler took me to Battlestar Galactica. Okay. But they weren't weird people. They didn't do weird things. They did things for survival, or the characters was teaching a lesson, or the character was resonating a real history. And I guess I think that some of these young writers, and Kalamu is not a young writer, but he's not a science fiction writer. This is his effort at science fiction. Have to understand that science that science fiction characters come out of something. They come out of the nuclear apocalypse. They come out of something that happened in the embryo. They come out of a forced new culture that didn't totally abandon, but it's a whisper in the new culture. I you know, I just think that all these writers are trying too hard. They're making it up instead of creating it. Is that a better way of saying it, Kim?
Oh, I don't know, but I like what you're saying. It's making me because I've written two um futuristic science fiction stories, so now I have
You
to look at
have?
what you're saying.
Can you say
And
why are we reading Kalamu? Ya Salaam? We should be reading your stuff. I mean,
I don't know if it's all on the
I will
page
tell
either.
you, that, and this is something that in all my years of Octavia, I really love Octavia Butler. Um, I, I just have to say that over and over.
Whose phone is that?
That's these people with the robocalls that DeSantis gave the prisoners a contract to do marketing for some company, and I'm getting robocalls every 15 minutes.
Wow.
And I can't block them
What?
because they're using Comcast, which verifies that that's a real number.
Oh.
So they have about 100 or so different phone numbers.
Mm,
So I can't block them.
that sounds
Mm.
illegal. That doesn't sound
And
like
listen,
that's.
I've been on the warpath since Friday about this. I thought I had solved it because I didn't get any calls on Sunday and I got no calls on Saturday afternoon. But I figured it out. They weren't working.
Mm,
And
wow.
it has a V by it, which means verified. It's a verified number. And it's either name not available or the name of a Florida city.
Mhm.
But anyway, I'm sorry. I should have turned this off. I um
Well, that's okay, BJ. Well, I think it's safe to say that what we can agree about is that what we loved about the characters and the stories that we were able to connect with was the writer, the author, made us care about them, right?
Mm-hmm.
They fleshed them out, put them, no matter where you would put that character in whatever setting, whether it was science fiction or fiction, you would care about that character because of how the author developed it. So, um, some of these people just have a lot to learn. They have to, keep practicing their art until they get it
Right.
where it needs to be. And so I thank you all for your insights on Salaam's offering.
I will let him know that we creamed his ass on the Kwanzaa people.
Oh my goodness. Okay then. Moving on to LeVar Burton's aftermath. Can I get somebody to read question number 5?
Let's see.
I could do that.
Thank you, Kim.
Um, let me just get to it. Here we are. How do you say that? Substantia
Substantia nigra.
is Latin for black substance. These cells release the essential neurotransmitters that help control movement and coordination. Parkinson's disease destroys these cells. If people of color are the substantia nigra to the nation and the world, what might be the corresponding disease? And B, is there more than one? Ooh,
Thank you.
I'll pass. I'll come back in later.
You might have to get us started on this one, Gio.
Okay, so when I first read this excerpt, I was like, okay, this is interesting, but he's doing too much. And then I did a little research on it. I'm like, is this a theme? And then I said, oh, he has a novel. And then I read what his novel was about. And then that informed this piece. So here,
Oh,
this was really some predictive science fiction on his part because he has an African American president who unfortunately gets assassinated 4 days into office.
Oh,
Okay. There's an earthquake. There's a second civil war because of the racial divisions in the country. And it seems that he's concentrating on, you know, racial prejudice. It's really such an insurmountable problem that it's tearing the nation apart financially and socially. And so I think, from his perspective, that racism is the disease that
mm,
corresponds um, with this substantia nigra, this black substance that sits in the middle of the human brain and controls our balance and our functions. And without it, we just don't operate. And so racism as a disease, destroying these cells, destroying these people who, from the inception of the country and let's just say it, the world, are being destroyed from uh, different at every turn, and and have an inability to grow and survive because of this ideology about race, being a thing, a real thing. And so I think he probably in the novel, which got very positive reviews, he expounds on that as being, the problem with America. And when you go to other countries, and I believe, I'm sure he's well traveled and he's seen it other places. And so that's a problem almost everywhere. And why is that? You know, why is that?
hmm, thank
And
you.
mm, and then
Hmm.
I'll just throw in on B, is there another disease? Well, capitalism. Okay. Everywhere it
Mhm.
goes causes a
Kills
problem.
everything in its path.
I guess,
Hmm.
um, I guess it's almost like, I guess you had to be there. Maybe it's because it's out of the context of of the novel,
Mhm.
and maybe because reading Rainbow was not my thing. But
BJ, don't get personal.
Well, he did Star Trek also, so
Yes, 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 yes.
Jordy
oh my God.
Jordy, yes, yes.
and Roots.
Oh, okay.
I'm reading Rainbow.
So no, but you know, I don't know. I enjoyed this story actually more than the first
Manhunters,
one.
yeah, I did too.
Hmm.
As a
Yeah.
matter of
Um,
fact, I was thinking that maybe I will buy this book and read the book. But then
mhm.
I thought about how hard he's lobbying to be.
Oh, the Jeopardy host. I thought he got it.
Did he get it?
Yeah, yeah, he got it. Hmm.
Okay.
Oh, is he?
Mhm.
Okay. So yeah.
Well, he speaks very well. He's better than Steve Harvey doing it. No, don't you think? No, I didn't say that. No.
Well, I'm glad you did.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. And the
Me
other
too. Me
guys,
too.
Cannon, somebody that he does some other
Nick
thing.
Cannon, was Nick Cannon up for this? For
No,
Jeopardy?
Nick Cannon is on some other show that he's making a clown of himself, and it's just so utterly ridiculous.
The Masked Singer. I think he has the Masked Singer, and he has another show. Something about when rappers compete for lyrics.
Oh God, I never heard of that one, but
Yeah, I
maybe
don't know the name of it.
yeah.
I think if I can remember the name, that would be good.
But
So
Okay.
I like the story. I like the questions. It just seems like if racism is like our pandemic, our COVID, then there are all of these other minor disease as they talk about underlying conditions
mhm,
that if you get the racism, you going out. Because I think when I'm looking at how people of color treat each other, so here you are, you're discriminated against with systematic racism of white people. And then you have, people of color lobbying to be on this ladder to be closer to white. And black women are at the bottom of this ladder. And
mhm,
everybody wants to work out their proximity to whiteness at our expense.
mhm,
And then you have the relationships between colorism in our families and then our relationships to our men. It just feels like there are all of these little illnesses and flus and colds and headaches and things like that you got to navigate all of that. So you really got to have a holistic diet, honey. You know what I'm saying? You really got to make sure you're eating organically and you're trying to do the best that you can to live this life. Because, oh boy, it just feels like you don't even know which battle to fight when you wake up. Which system is being attacked by some virus. So, and then to add capitalism to it, and we just, celebrating the 100th anniversary of Black Wall Street, you just go, what, what illness am I trying to
mhm,
fight
mhm,
today
mhm.
as a woman of color, Black woman?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, and I think Kim, that's why toward the end of the book when Leon the superhero uh magically appears in Atlanta to save this woman, and he manages to break into the warehouse, and he's having that conversation with himself about, yeah, I've seen this um drugged out people on the streets of Atlanta. um it felt to me like that should have been fleshed out a little, or a little more nuanced, or something to say the people are just not drugged out on the streets of Atlanta for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but save us, sister. You know what I'm saying? Like. I don't. That maybe that's not the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But save us, sister.
Yeah. Where you want us to go, Gio?
Where would you like to go? Well, where have we not been?
Well,
Could we talk about the skin patches? Could we
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's
that
do that.
that scared the heebie-jeebies out of me. It was just like, please don't tell anybody that they can take out skin because You know what I'm saying? To harvest the skinners, they call them the skinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just like, what? What now? Now you're gonna take the skin off the body?
Yeah, but isn't that such a contradiction? You demonize me because of the degree of melanin in my skin, but yet you need it to save yourself from, dying of cancer. So how did they explain that? Did they cover the brown skin with makeup? And how do you know that the person with the brown patches wasn't, how much brown can you have on your body before they like disown you from the Caucasian?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Oh no, your
I thought about
credit is
that,
525. You got too much brown on you or something.
Georgette. I thought about that too. And the other is what he doesn't address in the book, because I move right on ahead. Um, is the idea that, well, he does address it. The affordability thing was very interesting. And you can get this treatment, this fix for your life
Mhm.
at a cost much less,
Mm.
and you still don't want it.
Yeah. And it
Um,
should have been less painful than having
mhm,
skin
mhm,
grafts. And
mhm. All of that. It's just really, really interesting. There is a poem that a Black woman wrote. I've been using it for many, many years, called Agrofug. Remember Michelle? And somebody, I got a couple of letters. Hold on, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, I'll just keep talking.
But also it wasn't clear to me. I don't think he addressed how she got. I mean, we saw her get captured when the men dragged her over to the truck, but it went from this brilliant woman giving this fabulous presentation to now she's knocked out on the corner, and I'm like, what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah, absolutely. And then I'm like, what did I miss? Wait, let me back this up.
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
so then
yes.
you can, which wasn't highlighted enough, was that the inventor of the skin grafts was at the back of the room while she's giving her presentation, and he just rolls up on her like, I'm like, well, where were the
Right,
other people? Where was her protection? She had no bodyguards. Did they shoot her in the neck with a
right,
tranquilizer and drag out? I,
right.
I
So where
would
did
have
we
liked
fill
some.
all of that in? And that's, you know, so I felt like there were some holes in this one too. But since it's an excerpt, then my
Right.
assumption is that some of that stuff gets fleshed out in the book.
Yeah, but it
Yeah.
doesn't look good for these authors, does it? Because, you know, if we just took these writings at face value, we're like, well, you had a lot going on in your head between the word processor or the computer. And, you're not bringing us along with you happily. We're being dumped in different spots, and with our imaginations left to fill in the blanks. So, you know,
I've decided to ascribe it to youthful exuberance, because I think that the editors are relatively young women. And I think that their hearts were in the right place, that they wanted to put some provocative ideas out there to get people looking at things from another perspective. Um, I think their intentions were good. For me, they haven't met that mark. And, and I've said to you all before, I really thought from the beginning that the stories were going to be more hopeful, that they really were going to inspire some brainstorming or some visioning or something. And I just feel like for the most part, they're all rehashing the ugliness that we are, organ trafficking is a real life thing going on today.
Yes, it
And so
is.
there's so much of the dystopia that we currently live. And maybe as the book goes on, but thus far we haven't seen a utopian vision.
Mm-hmm. They dump this stuff and then don't expand it, connecting the dots between what's going on with the character, how that character arrived there. But I don't want to be a writing critic. But you're absolutely right, Michelle. There is so much meat in the pasta salad.
Mhm. That's a very good description. And you don't have to be, say you don't mean to be a critic, because if you read, you know what you like. And after having read many books, you know what makes sense. You get even if you're not an expert, okay, you need to put this washer on before you put the bolt and screw it in, and it should be tight, right? Yeah. It's just like watching a movie. You know when something is missing. They haven't gotten you invested in the character or the plot or where it's going, or if they do and they leave you hanging, you feel like something's missing.
Mhm.
That's not being a critic. That's just being observant,
Like
right? Comparing.
I was very interested in the development of the skin grafts.
Mm-hmm.
What would cause a person like Tay-Sachs disease? Would that be a reason that a person would be? I mean, Tay Tay-Sachs is mostly um, um, Jewish people are affected by that disease, and would that be a reason that a skin graft could be rejected by the body?
Mm.
And to what extent does the Black substance contribute to that?
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Which is why I can't be a writer, because I'd be writing and writing and writing and writing.
Well, I wanted to hear more about the headband that cures cancer, chronic pain, and kills cancer cells.
Yeah.
and that racism, either we don't know, did they steal her idea and put it on the market, or did they just throw away this brilliant Black woman because she needed to be skinned? The loss to humanity in our intelligence and our creativity and our all of, it's we can't even calculate it. It's incalculable.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But I go back to what Georgette said, and maybe we have to read the whole book. And maybe it was a favor to him by somebody, one of the, what do you call the people that put these
Editors.
editors? Maybe it was a favor to him to put an excerpt from his book in this book.
Mm-hmm. Mhm.
Is that possible in your industry, Kim?
Oh, I'm so new until I don't I appreciate you giving me all of that credit, but I would think they would be, but I actually don't know. But I do think that this excerpt is even the excerpt itself is not consistent. I think it was every time you see those dots that they pulled things from different pieces.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just feel like it was I think it was a good effort on his part, but it just left us with so many questions. And short stories do that; they leave you with like 25 questions.
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
still like that Black Angel. That was my one of my favorite, and the superheroes. Those those kind of set me up for this. Dishes. This book is it. You know.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
shapeshifters. That's when I had to say, you know,
Girl, you had me shape shifting all last week.
Ah.
we got. I want to hear about some power, like Michelle. I want to hear about some optimism in the future.
Excuse me.
Yeah, because all of Octavia's work was not negative. There was hope in there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The 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 aspiration for struggle
Mhm.
is contained in all of her stories,
Mhm.
and the quest to understand the unfamiliar.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It wasn't that people, characters in her stories, rejected. I mean, there was racial hate and animosity and anything different in some of them, but you really saw people struggling to ultimately understand how to get to a place of communion with people who were not like them, people who were not, you know, in in their specific sphere of struggle.
Mhm.
That's, one of the things I love about her work.
You said it. I just remember when we were reading Parable of the Sower, was it? And
Mhm.
it's like you're saying, it's like she normalized a dark moment.
Hmm.
Whereas, we have the main character and she's gardening and she's trying to figure out how to keep herself and her brother alive. And you could just relate to that. It wasn't like, you know, so far out there
Yeah, it
that
wasn't weird. Yeah,
no, it was there was some inventions and stuff thrown up in there, but you really followed the character and you could say, oh, this isn't a brand new world. And I don't mind the stories that's a brand new world,
yeah.
but I just need you to kind of give me a little bit, give me some story, give me a little bit, but don't just lay out the whole landscape because I'm gone.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
So I like what you're saying. It's something to think about if I ever want to do this type of work.
Hmm. Hmm. I mean, even some of her stuff is not a lot of oh wow in the characters. They're people you think you
Mhm.
know. Yeah, and you see Uncle Morris and all them people in her characters.
Yeah.
She's not making up. She's pulling together.
I like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And then there's little romance. It's just some
yeah,
just
Mhm.
some
yeah.
normalizing of the future
Mm,
in her work. And
mm-hmm.
so, but along that line, I did feel like I know some indigos. I was just like, yeah, I know some indigos, man.
Yeah.
So
And some cobalts.
how did you characterize Indigo? How do you characterize Indigo?
I think that she was more interested in the love of this man than she was in her own um, survival.
Hmm.
There came a time where she was blinded by cobalt, and she knew what time it was. Her sister knew what time it was. That she knew that she was. I don't want to call her thirsty, but it just felt like whatever he was promising her, she was drinking it no matter what.
Hmm.
And so she was betrayed and she was deceived.
Hmm. Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, I think that I'm going to try to get a better handle on this LeVar Burton book because I just felt like I didn't have the handle. It was like a piece here and a piece there and a piece here and a piece there, and I'm going, but it's enough. Um, it's enough to kind of tickle my fancy about maybe reading the whole book.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And given, he wrote it in what, 1997 or something around there.
Wow.
So this was, we've gone through a lot of dystopia since then. So
Oh,
Yeah.
well, we haven't had an earthquake. We
Mm.
get
right,
close to a civil war.
right. Okay.
I
Hmm.
wonder whatever happens with these two. So Leon and Renee,
Dr.
Dr.
Reynolds.
Reynolds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. Reynolds. And why is there a psychic link? You know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I
what I
Doc-
want.
wonder.
I want a psychic link. So I can
You
just say, Leon, come to Brooklyn.
oh,
and just a man she had only seen once in an alleyway. You know. Yeah, that was weird to me. Maybe it's fleshed. It's got to be fleshed out in the book
I'll
because
let you know.
I mean, yeah,
yeah.
that was it.
Yeah. Maybe if he used the neuro device and it made him psychic. And then this is something they find out. Everyone who used it was it becomes psychic. Hopefully they're not all connected to the
Oh,
doctor, because that could be a problem.
Yeah.
Georgette is now writing her book.
yeah.
Go ahead, Georgette.
Remember back in 1998 when you say you wrote the book? Remember in 1998 when they had the headband? Well, it's a new improved version.
Right.
And only the people in Columbia, South Carolina were afforded the benefits of it.
Yeah, it was a special dark black project
Yeah.
by the government after they stole Reynolds' technology.
After they got rid of Clyburn.
Yeah, yeah, right. Oh my. Well.
Nobody's ever written a story about um, a character or a species that can embed themselves in walls.
Hmm. I don't know. I haven't read it yet.
And
And
what
they have
what
the ability to transcribe and transmit what's being said in a room where people do not know that they are there.
Well, but we already have smart TVs and webcams and uh, cameras being looking at you when you don't know they're looking at
yeah.
Mhm.
That's true. Well, and we have the government. Well, it's no longer a government program, it's commercialized now, remote viewing. So
Yeah.
they do
you.
that.
But that's what I want too. I want a superhero that uses that power to do some phenomenal stuff,
And
and
shift
that's what I
changes.
want. That's what I want.
Yeah, some shift
Yeah.
changes that become cops and wipe cops out when they do wrong.
Yeah, yeah. Those
Yeah.
shift shapers
Oh.
had a whole lot of missed opportunity. They're talking about, let's just walk up a fashion line. Let's go, you know.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
that was that's some power there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that both of these stories had a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I just, and I can remember there was one part of, I don't know if you all read the Black Blood Rights by Tana Dew, who was actually mentored by Octavia Butler.
Wow.
Oh,
I follow her.
but
We follow each other on Twitter.
she has one of the stories coming up in the last week here.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
On Nicole.
And she has a trilogy called Blood Rights.
Oh.
And sometimes in the stories it gets weak, but her dialogue never does.
So what's the basis of the story?
That she is endowed, no, that he is endowed with a special gift. And the gift is the ability to go back and change the minds of people before they have a mind.
Mm.
And there is a group of people, he's married to a young reporter. He's a reporter, I read it so long ago, and they have a child who also has this gift. And the gift is in the blood. And there are people hunting him down. The first book, he doesn't believe he has the gift. And the reporter wife is trying to figure out how to convince him. I might have it all backwards. You all know I get stuff backwards, but and the hunter wife is trying, the reporter wife is trying to get him to figure it out. And that's how they run into these hunters.
Hmm.
And she does a really good job. And then she has this other book called The Old House, The Haunted House, something about a house. And it's about a child and gifts. Yeah.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. And so you can see throughout her work, she's working with the same thing that Octavia Butler is working with, and that is gifts.
Mhm.
Oh, I like that.
Okay.
And what I was looking for in reading these short stories is what are the gifts of these characters and how are they manifested?
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm. Well, that would be a great theme for their next collection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's
Maybe they
some
have better, more varied submissions.
yeah.
And I think it's also like the genre is like maybe in this incubation stage
Mm-hmm.
where it is finding its voice and finding legs underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have Octavia, and maybe that's her brood. It's like these are the kids that follow her.
Mm-hmm.
And as I guess as they keep going and we all keep going, given today where we are, there's so much now with flash fiction where people just want to say something to you and they in and they out. It's like get what you can, that's it. So BJ, to read books the way you read books and analyze them is just such a gift. It is, and that's what I love about this group. So I'm not saying just you, but there's a way that you kind of go in deep that because sometimes if something's not working for me in a book, if I have two things to do after that, I just keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I just love how you really kind of comb out where the hole was for you.
Yeah, but then sometimes I can be overly like, I have to say to myself, shit, if you want to write a book, write a book. You can't write this person's book over.
Yeah.
No, but you could be an editor.
Yes.
But I think editors are far too much grammar and structure police.
Oh.
Not that I've ever had an editor, you understand.
But it depends on what you're buying. So, if I'm hiring somebody that's going to look at the structure of the book,
Mm-hmm.
if they start telling me where the commas need to go, and I'm paying you the big bucks, because a line editor costs a little less than somebody to look at the book and to see if it's making sense. And if that person just wants to talk about grammar, then you paid for the wrong thing.
Oh, okay.
And I did have an editor who I sued.
Oh.
Because she was so good. She was so good. She just read my book and she was just like, some things aren't working here, Kim. Some things aren't, because it was all took place during the Billie Holiday time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so good. And then she just dropped the project. So I sued her for the money back. But no, it wasn't about grammar or anything. It was really her telling me if the book worked, if the timing worked, if I had the right, like, did the timeline work, or did I just throw a cell phone up into 1950? So they're looking for all of these little things that just go. Actually, she couldn't have been listening to Miles Davis. If you're saying this happened here, she wasn't listening to Miles Davis. So, I think that you could do that. I think JP, BJ, that would be something that be up your alley.
You'd have to pay attention to much too much detail. I'm talking about the resonance in a story. And I would definitely need a editor to let me know that Edward Walters went to San Francisco and married and had a baby, and you bring him back to New York, but you don't bring the baby Odom and wife. What happened
That's
here?
right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
I have this software that's really interesting because it asks you to create a character. It asks you to create the scene in which a character is in it. And there's so much stuff going on their thing. I don't use it. It's asking you too much stuff like what year is it? What, how old is this person? Blah, 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 blah. But it would be perfect for someone who wants to write a book, a novel. I mean, it has everything because it tells you, it makes you create this. Who is this person's mother? Who is this person's father? Who's this person's sister? Who's their best friend? And then if you've already created some characters, it asks you, how is this person related to this character? How is this person related to that character? It's really interesting
Wow.
for somebody that wants to write a novel.
Man, that took a lot of work out away for a lot of writers. They could just pop that stuff in there and
Yeah,
fill it
somebody
out.
who
What's the name of the program? Do you know?
it's called Why Writers. I'll send you the link. I've had it for I've had it at least 20 years.
Wow. Is that
It
old?
sounds like it incorporates like genealogy,
You can
kind of
write
system.
all the history notes and all kinds of stuff in this software. But
That's
then
excellent.
I keep thinking it's too many pieces in the software. How do you know, can you remember? Um, you know, I'll send you the link because you have to
Okay.
download it. And it was free.
Huh. Wow.
And that's how many years I've been thinking about writing a book.
BJ, you got a couple of books in you. I know it.
Yes.
And that's part of the problem. I don't know what to write about. And I'm certainly not a sci-fi reader as much as I love sci-fi.
Maybe a short
Well,
story. Maybe start
there's
with
a
a short
book.
story.
There's a book that I got years ago. Somebody recommended it to me. It's called The Artist's Way
Yes.
by Julia Cameron. And there's a exercise book that goes along with it. And one of the exercises is if you're supposed to get up and do a brain drain every morning, right? So as soon as you get out of bed, write 3 pages. If you don't know what to write, if you can't think what to say, then you write 3 pages of, I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write. I don't know what to write.
Okay.
Okay.
How long you want to
That's
do that?
interesting. That's just like this book I have over here that I need to be putting out when y'all ask me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. Have you read it? Or no, not yet, huh?
I really
Okay.
think I'm scared to read it. I really think I'm scared to read it.
Oh my goodness.
But Kim said that a short story, but I think a short story is much harder. It seems. Or you end up with Tara Betts and her shift changers that shift into purple hair.
I think like that's what you were saying. Don't try to do too much. Start with an outline that says, I want to get the person from A to point B. What's the option? I'm sorry, here comes the phone ringing. What's the obstacle? What's her motivation? You write down the questions that you need to ask, and I think a short story would be great. A long short story.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll ask Kalamu if I can write a short story about Maeve, Mauve, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can ask him if he wants to come and talk
I got
to us.
so many things to do today. I was fertilizing my lawn. I moved all the rugs to sweep the marble floors. I painted the potting table, the new potting table, so it will be able to stand the rain. I did laundry.
I'm sorry. Should we close before
Yes.
and then we could go back to pick up where you are, BJ?
No, I'm just saying, ain't gonna be no short story, so y'all can just hush up.
Okay. And then on that note, if Anybody? This is your last chance to add your comments to the stories we read. If not,
I think
well,
each one of them
go
had
ahead.
some brilliant points. So, you know.
I agree, Kim. I agree.
So yes, it's tough love we're giving them, but we do appreciate their efforts.
But you have to also keep in mind that LeVar Burton uh, was in the years that he was failing, in his period of failure. For a
Really?
long time he couldn't get any movie. He's not a very good actor. So, I mean, you'd have to be a terrible actor not to do Toby, to mess up Toby. Uh,
BJ, what's your
Oh,
name, boy?
Conte Conte. You have to be real bad to mess that up.
Oh, he's so bad.
But for a long time, for many, many years, and I'm talking about maybe 10 or 15 years, he couldn't get any movie work,
Wow.
which is why he started doing
The Reading Rainbow?
Reading Rainbow. And I think
Oh.
he called in a favor when he started that. It might have been Mr. Rogers. He called Mr. Rogers. But anyway.
and sometimes he can be typecast too. That he was the picture of enslavement.
Yes.
Yeah, that had to be
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
to,
Yeah. But I've seen him in some things, and he's not very good.
Let's try to clean
It's
up.
like he's still
Well,
Kante Kente.
well, he was in that cameo video, Word Up. He played that part pretty good.
But
You
see,
guys ever saw that video?
that's the thing. He was calling in favors all over the place just to get work.
Oh.
So writing may have been for him another way of trying to create a way of having work, So, I mean, when I started radio, I took the job simply because I couldn't get what I always did. I came to Florida and nobody wanted a Black female executive. So so we have to give him that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think you did a great job on Star Trek.
I think so. And I think
Yeah, you did a great job, Georgette. Georgette, no matter how much shade she's sending, she's still smiling.
Shade?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you, BJ. I try.
That's a skill. That's a talent.
I liked him on Star Trek, but when I think back, Gio, he was kind of a small part, and I think maybe what I liked was that he was one of a very few rare Black people on TV at the time.
Yeah. And that's great.
I think he was terrible in Star Trek.
My goodness. But look, who were the writers, right? Who was writing the dialogue for these characters?
I know.
Maybe they thought it was just enough to have that black face. Yes, there's diversity in the galaxy.
And
you're not going to talk. You're not going to talk a lot, right?
So they won't think you Toby.
Right. Oh.
Kuta Kente. Kuta Kente.
Yeah.
BJ, you say some stuff, man.
I know, right? If you expect BJ to take it easy on you, you're sadly mistaken. She's gonna give it to you. Straight up. No chaser.
Just like Saturday night, I told Sandy Darity, I said, look, don't be talking over your wife.
Oh.
No, no, no.
You playing second seat tonight.
All
That's
right.
what we were talking about, the $50. Y'all heard me telling me only $50.
Mhm.
Who you having on this Saturday?
Dr. Rutledge Janice. He's from George Mason University. He is a sociologist and anthropologist. And he did a great deal of the analysis on the sociological analysis on the civil rights era, slavery, Reconstruction, that whole 9 yards. And what I'm asking him to do is to talk about the ongoing and continuing persistence of social ills and crises in the Black community during those periods, and particularly reflecting on the proposals for reparation during that time that didn't consider those as points of impact to calculate the debt.
Mhm.
Mm.
He's an
Okay.
old school,
That's
he's
very
an old school
interesting.
activist, you know. I mean, he has been doing this work for so long. I think he's in his 80s, but he's still teaching.
Wow.
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 So wonderful.
And I like the anthropologist in him
Mm.
Mhm,
and
mhm.
the way in which he evaluates. I just listened to a podcast on Saturday where he defended, you know, how some of these left people, radical people, always talking about them Negroes didn't do nothing, blah, 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 blah. He was able to present the whole notion, things that I say all the time. You have to understand what oppression was in that time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That when Black people started rising up and marching
Mhm.
in the 50s and the 40s, that was some dangerous shit. Because you could come home from the march and your house would be burned down.
Mm-hmm.
Because there was no clarification. The other is to understand the restrictions that was placed on the education of Black people during Jim Crow.
Mhm.
And people think reparations just started in the 60s. There have been proposals, there was proposals for reparations in the post-construction era when we had Black people in the Congress.
Yeah.
The 40 acres and a mule, that had already been settled law. They just reneged because they couldn't find the land. Because they had given the land to the other people.
Mm.
So we're gonna talk about, I think that's anthropology. What happened to that land?
Yeah, well,
Mhm.
Georgette and I are reading in our other book group, Debt, the First 5,000 Years.
Uh-huh.
And it's written, and he's Graeber, David Graeber, who's deceased, was an anthropologist. And I said to them that, I might have enjoyed economics class in college if I had this anthropological perspective on it. I hated economics, but I love what Graeber is doing.
And the
So
other
Yeah.
the other book that when you get a chance is The Debt by Randall Robinson.
Mhm. Mhm.
Ah. Mhm.
And in my mind, he was the first person in my contemporary life after the civil rights laws who made the case
Mhm.
for civil
Mhm.
rights. You know, and you know I love Ray Winbush, and he's my friend, and everybody used to say he was my boyfriend. He wasn't my boyfriend.
Wait. I'm gonna stop the camera right here. Hold on. We will see you next week reading our story together.
Good night.